Hi, I'm Dr. Metzer from the Gold Clinic of Chiropractic, and I'm doing a, I don't know what you call a longevity video. This is not a chiropractic video, but this is chiropractic thinking because we're thinking about anatomy and physiology and the laws of physiology and how the body works. So at 49 and a half, maybe a little bit later than that, my VO2 max is a 63 and a half. The last time I took this test, well over 15 years ago, my VO2 max was 47. So this is a significant improvement for them. Now the training I was doing for this I'll be presenting today was only the last 6 months leading up to this. So how did this get so ridiculously high? By the way, this is the top 1% for my age bracket. I train the Airdyne 15 minutes a week. I work out for no more than an hour a week. So how did this happen? Well, it couldn't have done doing it the conventional way. That's why I think it's all wrong. First of all, what is VO2 max? VO2 max is a measurement of the amount of oxygen that the muscles consume in the body. Now, if you listen to Atia or some of the other influencers, they'll talk about being cardiorespiratory function, but it's not. It is a measurement of how much oxygen your muscles can consume. So it is a muscle function, not a cardiorespiratory function. So the congenital and the conventional thinking here would be high volume over much time of your 2 to 4 hours or 3 to 4 hours of zone 2 cardio a week. Who has that kind of time? Unless you're training for that type of workout. So I didn't do any of that. The second thing is now they started talking more about the Norwegian 4x4, which is 4 minutes all-out intensity, for instance, on the Airdyne, and then 3-minute rest and 4 sets of that. Well, I do that Norwegian. What I did for this is the only cardio I did for this was I did a 4x3 Norwegian. So I would go on 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off, and I only would do 3 sets of that. So that's 12 minutes of work. And the other day, a week that I would do cardio would be 20 seconds on, 1 minute and 40 seconds off. So every 2 minutes, I'm going for a 20-second sprint, and I would do 8 sets of that. So that's my 15 minutes of cardio a week. Does that make sense why this would rise that high? No, I don't think that was it at all. As a matter of fact, I think that had virtually very minimal effect on my VO2 max. However, because the VO2 max is a measurement of, not of cardiorespiratory function, of muscle function, my feeling is it came from doing leg work. And I'm going to explain why. Arthur Jones talked about, Arthur Jones is the legendary guy who started Nautilus, incredible mind, the brainchild behind the high intensity fitness movement back in the 70s. And Jones did tons of physiology research on this, and he found out the legs were very inefficient. And what he said was that when you're working out your legs, the muscles, you're only using a certain percentage of the muscle fibers at all time. So for instance, if you're you do a set of 10 reps of whatever, you're only using maybe 10% of the leg fibers. Legs are built for endurance. They could go on and on and on. You can't bench press all day, but you can certainly walk all day. So what happens, he said, you're only using a portion of the muscle fibers at one time before the body switches to another set of muscle fibers. So if you're doing, if you're working out your legs and you're only going 10 reps, you may have only fatigued 10% of the muscle fibers, even though they're totally fatigued. So what he would say is you have to do high rep leg work. And I think this is exactly what happened with why my VO2 max is so ridiculously high. If you listen to Mike Mentzer, who is my favorite bodybuilding thinking mind of all time, his brother Ray, even Tom Platz was very intense with this too. These guys would talk about doing sets of 50 to 100 reps for their legs. And I think that's exactly why my legs are very strong, but it's exactly why my VO2 max is so high. So about 6 months before I took this test, I started doing 50 rep single leg squats. And I would only do it once every 2 weeks. So that was my only leg work. I would do 50 reps. And this is to all out failure. So it could be 50, it could be 60, it could be 40 reps, anywhere in that zone, aiming for 50 reps. But what's happening is, as let's say I'm loading, for instance, the first 5 reps are maybe only 10% of the muscle fibers. Well, that's why if you keep going, you get to that point where, okay, now it's using the next 5%, whatever. So you're using all the muscle fibers in the legs for this. This is somewhat of what the Norwegian may be doing, but it doesn't get near the intensity unless you're doing heavy legs. And not light legs either. I mean, it should be very, very heavy. You shouldn't be dropping it, 50%. Maybe initially you will have to, but I do single leg squats because it's very, very specific. It's a chiropractic thing. It's very good because it doesn't cause any flexion in the spine, or minimal flexion in the spine, which is why people have subluxations at L5, herniated discs at L5. So I do single leg squats for that. So I was really doing 100 reps of both legs. So it's really, really brutal. And it's so intense that I couldn't do it every week. I started doing it every week initially, but at the end I couldn't do it. My body just couldn't take it. So I think this is what happened. By doing this, recruiting most of the leg fibers, or at least a lot more than I would with a 10 rep set or with doing your Norwegians, I think that's why that it got so deep into the muscle fibers that every one of those fibers was begging for oxygen at the point. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Now, I have to admit this too. I was using the VO2 for the contrast oxygen therapy too. Most of the time when I was in the office, I would use that too. That may have had something to do with it because it does cause vasodilation when you're working under. So it's like training at altitude. When you're training at altitude, the blood vessels will dilate trying to get oxygen to them. And then, so it's increasing the amount of carbon dioxide I was using. And then we hit it with oxygen to blast through it. So anyway, that's all I could come up with. My workouts are this. So I went over I do the Norwegian I do a 4x3 for the Norwegian once a week. I would do the sprints, 20 seconds on, 1:40 off, for 8 sets for one time a week. I would do upper body, again, straight Mentzer stuff, 1 set to failure, in normal, whatever, 10, 15 reps, whatever like that. And I would do the leg day every 2 weeks, and the leg day was awful. It was, again, 1 set, single leg squats, left side and right side. So it's like 100 reps total. And that's the only thing that I think made this that high. So in a week, on leg day, if the legs are in there, it's like an hour workout. If it's not, it's a lot less and that's not the only thing I would do. I would do like maybe a stiff leg deadlift or something just for my hamstrings at a very modest weight, and then some calf stuff. But that's it. So I want to recognize the people that helped me figure this out. Number one is I Am Longevity. It's Tony's station over there. I'd recommend you check it out. He's a very interesting take on aging. While I don't buy all of it, meaning I think there's some differences on it, no matter what, you're going to die. So, but he is he's a testament to being able to at least do a lot of things when you get older. But he's the one that made this point to say that it's a muscle function. It has nothing to do with nothing to do with cardiorespiratory, okay? So he's great. Heavy Duty College, this is John Little. John Little is the guy that worked with Mike Mentzer. He has a lot of the Mike Mentzer information. John Little stuff is great. Heavy Duty College. Mr. America Hart's one of my favorite too, who actually practiced Mike Mentzer's heavy duty thought process, high intensity thought process. And the other one, I don't know who owns the station or who does it, but Bulking Not Sulking is fantastic. The guy is about high intensity, gives lots of clips on Arthur Jones that kind of explain this stuff. Now I'm going to put this test in my blog, and I'll also show you the workouts and stuff that I did. But I did this almost just to start a conversation, because if VO2 max is a longevity indicator, and these are apparently very, very good numbers, doing an hour a week of work to achieve it is a lot less stress and a lot less damaging on the body. And if you want to have some longevity, you got to figure out ways of minimizing stress on the body. Stress is good, the body adapts to it, but there's a limited adaptive ability of the body. So this is one of the reasons why I was such a big fan of Mike Mentzer. Mike Mentzer, everybody gives him credit for high intensity workouts. It was never him. It was started with Arthur Jones, who taught it to him. Mike Mentzer's thought process was rest. And that's one thing that I took into account on this, is I did obviously have a lot of rest. I mean, if I'm doing my leg day only once every 2 days, Tom Platz, who had incredible legs, said he did his legs once every 2 weeks to a month. So, and how I know I'm still doing well is I'm still progressing, I'm still gaining from that. So anyway, I hope this is informative. I hope you test it out too to let me know if it's good, and I hope it starts a conversation, because who has time to do that type of work for, such little benefit for 3 to 4 hours to try to do this? It ain't gonna happen like that. So anyway, all right, I love and appreciate you guys.